Here's another video regarding presentation in Microsoft Dynamics 365. The last video that we produced just recently was a trick that you could sort of do to use some JavaScript and some web resources, some icons that you create to show some color in Microsoft Dynamics views. Let's just take it a step further for a moment. This is a dashboard, as you can see. It's an operational dashboard, and there is something to be said for taking the trouble to be consistent in your coloring. And let me just show you what I'm talking about here. So for instance, you can see here that these are some dashboards components that we will return to in a moment, but let's just put it in context. So similar to the last video, I wanted to be able to show, and I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can get this a little bit better, maybe even a little more. So here we have, as I discussed in the last video, we have here the idea of an option set which has several: inspire, develop, execute, accelerate, and sustain. So we have these different values, and we are able, through the use of a web resource, JavaScript, and some icons that we built, we have the ability to sort of show this in this context, which helps people instantly and quickly see what status and stage a particular lead in this case is. And if we open this up, we can see that we have here, in fact, those stages that are realized in the interface. And here they are. So we've determined, or at least we've sort of guided our users to understanding that there is a color associated with each one of these. So the idea is that once you've done something like that, then you should follow through with the other presentation assets. So remember, we've got green, yellow, red, and then sort of an orange, and then a blue for the various stages. So let's go back to those dashboards and have a look. So if we come down here, we see here, and this is where the color does become sort of important to remain consistent. So in this particular dashboard, we're showing the number of program members by the stages that we just described. And remember, inspire is green, this is execute is red, bright yellow is develop, accelerate is an orange, and then blue is sustain. And over on the right, we've got another chart, which is also a funnel chart, and it's the same stages but from a different lens. And so you see here, we've got the number of program members by stage, and here we have the annual revenue by stage. So instantly, because we're remaining consistent with the colors, we can see that the 36 out of the 200 something members are generating the vast majority on an individual basis than the rest of the stages. And the large number of stage inspire members, 222, are generating the absolute smallest fraction. That tells us something. It tells us something right away without us having to think that much. We can visually see those cues. Why? Because we're consistent in the way that we're displaying information. And I'll show you another example of that. If we go to accounts in this particular case, accounts in this system represent donations, or rather I should say organizations that donate to our cause. And depending on how much they donate with respect to $1,000, these are called the 1K Club accounts. You can see here we characterize them in the same manner as we did in the membership section, where if it's a certain number, we're monitoring them. If they're below a certain amount, we want to set them up to act, and if they're above 1,000, we want to celebrate. Same idea here. Very simple: yellow, red, and green. And then when we get back to our dashboards, we see that yellow, red, and green, in fact, are consistent. So act now. And we can see here, this is a way to sort of get around the issue and the limitation of the fact that there's no way to show in one axis in Microsoft Dynamics different colors, but you can if you have 3 different charts. So here we're using a view that just shows the celebrate, just shows the monitor, and just shows the act now. And the point of all of this is that it's useful when it comes to acting on something. So for instance, if I were to just take this and I were to view the records of this. Now, implied in by the name of this is act now, as you need to act on this, right? So the idea is that if you can guide someone through some coloring, or at least in a way that makes it very easy for them to get to the place they want to be without having to analyze rows and rows of data, just sort of guide them through color, they can act quickly. So here they can click here, and we can just go ahead and add that to a marketing list, these people that need to be acted upon, or these organizations, or we can do a quick campaign. And we can set up phone calls or something like that for the selected records. You probably know how to do this, but if not, this is how you actually would do it. And the point that I'm trying to make here is that you can use the information through dashboards to guide people by the judicious and consistent use of coloring. That's essentially an addition to last week's video where I pointed out that just that trick with respect to the option sets and the views and showing the little icons. And I'll go one step further with presentation because you really do need to mention this. So if you go to the different kinds of dashboards that you can present nowadays in Microsoft Dynamics, you've got this traditional dashboards that you see here where I can drill down if I want to and just get this information very quickly. Here, you can do that. You can see how that drills down. I can also go to a place like this, which is quite useful here, and maybe I just want to look at, those a little bit more information about how this is breaking out. You can see this is all useful. Notice that as I do this, it just breaks it down and filters by the component I'm working with. Well, that was and has always been the way that Microsoft Dynamics does its dashboards. But now there's a couple of other things going on. So first of all, there's the so-called interactive dashboard. So here is an interactive dashboard here, which is a little bit different. So if I switch to tile view and I show the visual filter, so basically what this does is this is an interactive dashboard that, as you can see, first of all, you are able to get around that issue where on the same axis, so to speak, you can have 3 different colored bars, which is helpful to show that. That's because the unified interface and these interactive dashboards respects the color code on the option set itself, which unfortunately Microsoft Dynamics out-of-the-box standard dashboard components like charts do not. And secondly, this sort of behaves a little bit similar to the way in which Power BI dashboards work, where if you click on one thing, it actually does filtering throughout. So the components are filtered throughout the dashboard. All the 3 different components are filtered when I do this. It's just a very simple little differentiator. And then finally, there is another type of dashboard, and that we really need to show that. That's the Power BI dashboard, which has become extremely easy to embed Power BI into Microsoft Dynamics 365. So Power BI, as you know, is rightly so very popular. And it's popular because of really cool things like this. I mean, this particular dashboard component here, this map, takes those same stages and then drops them on a map where the businesses are located, and then we're able to add the dimension of the annual revenue, so that becomes the size of the dot on the map. So you're getting so much cool information all at once. Now, Microsoft Dynamics 365 out-of-the-box dashboards just simply can't do that. They just don't have the capability of that. Power BI does. And I'll tell you right now that this required obviously no programming at all. It just required a little bit of understanding about how to use the widgets in Power BI. Secondly, Power BI dashboards, similar to what I just showed you, do some global filtering, if you will, on any of the slider components or any of the actual filtering components. So if you look over on the right, we've got a range of annual revenue between $47 a year and $957,000.95. and with a whole bunch of digits, which we could format out if we wanted to. We also have a simple way to choose and filter over on the right with this card over here. And then finally, we've got the list of all 611 members. So have a look at the way this dashboard works. We can just use the slider to give ourselves a little bit of filtering and watch what happens carefully to both the data set and the map. You can see what happens. Instantly, the data set is filtered on those that have annual income of 47 to 241,000 or thereabouts, and the map is filtered as well. We can zoom in on that map, and we can see more information as well. We can go ahead and click Develop, for instance, and that will show that here's the develop stage. So it's actually really quite powerful. In the way it works, you click anywhere else and it'll just refresh the entire screen and refresh the entire report. You really have to consider the value and power of the Power BI dashboard experience when you're thinking about presentation for your users. Okay, that's enough for presentation for now. I hope this helps. Thank you.